If you train, compete, or teach dog agility, you're in the right place. Hey there, I'm Megan Foster, creator of Fostering Excellence and Agility. Join me as I share key insights on all things related to dog agility and help find your team's path to excellence and unlock your best year yet. Let's get started. This is episode 67, and today I'm talking about planning your training for your current level of capacity. It is really difficult, impossible to maintain the same schedule and consistency of training throughout our lives, right? We have lives with families and jobs and things we might do outside of agility and dog sports. We may compete in several dog sports. We may have several dogs. Dogs get hurt. People get hurt. Things in our life change in a way that we cannot always predict. And so that means maintaining a consistent schedule of training is going to be impossible. And sometimes that feels like we won't make progress or we will backslide. And I just don't find that to be true. However, we can do ourselves a favor and plan for our current level of capacity. So one thing that I did with my coaching group earlier this year is we had a look at the calendar for an entire quarter or an entire year, and we went ahead and scheduled in the things that we can expect, the vacations that we take, the events that we travel to, the events that we absolutely cannot miss, the work projects that will take up more of our time, anything that we could account for. We went ahead and put into this overview so that when the time came to plan the training, we're not surprised by those things. Those are expected. We expected those things to take up more of our capacity. Therefore, we're going to do less training during that time. And we're able to plan around those things. And having this already mapped out can also help you deal with the unexpected things, because then you are a bit more flexible. You can look at where things can move and where things cannot move. It can help you make decisions about what to say yes to and what maybe you should be saying no to when we're talking about adding things to your schedule. But once we have that sort of mapped out, we can really look at our lives and determine how much time we have for training. And sometimes I think we underestimate how much time training actually takes. Because when we think about a 5-minute training session, it's not just a 5-minute training session. There's planning that training session. Maybe you're not driving to a 5-minute training session, but when we think about training, we need to include planning, driving if applicable, setting things up, doing the actual training, then reviewing that training. So the idea of, just do 5 minutes every day doesn't really resonate with me, because I know that training takes longer than 5 minutes. So when I plan, I really take a look at how many times per week can I do all of that? Can I make my plans and go to my training space and set things up and really take the time to review that training session? Because if I don't do all of that, I might as well not have trained, in my opinion. So that's where I start, is choosing how much time I actually have to do training well, and then prioritizing the things that need to be trained during that time. Sometimes I don't have time to do a complete course build, so I focus on the skills that take a lot less time to set up. Or I can choose to take one day and primarily course build and do very little with the dog, But then that course is set up for me to use for 2 or 3 training sessions before I need to change it again. So looking at the details kind of really, really small like that can help you understand just how much capacity you have for training. I also like to make sure that I'm still prioritizing the things that are more important in my dog's life than training for sports, like enrichment and decompression, her fitness and conditioning, and put those into my schedule first so that they don't get missed. And then the sports specific stuff gets filled in with whatever additional time is left over. When my life doesn't really allow me a high capacity for a lot of agility training, it might look like a little bit of a break from agility to my dogs. And so I also want to talk about what that looks like and how I avoid losing skills or backsliding or feeling like I'm starting completely over after my life settles down and I have more capacity for training. So I can think about these like planned breaks. Generally speaking, if it's a short break, like 2 to 4 weeks, I try to keep our lives the same, minus agility. So I'm just taking away that huge piece of time that includes planning the training, going to the training, setting it up, reviewing it, making more plans. So that saves me a huge chunk of time. So if I'm at capacity with my life, I can take a small break from agility without losing my skills, right? Because I'm still focused on her behavioral health. I'm still focused on her fitness and conditioning. And I'm replacing the agility training usually with scent-based games because they're a lot easier to set up. They take a lot less time. I'm not interested in filming them or reviewing. They're just fun things for her to do because scent-based sports are not my sport. If scent games is your sport, you might feel a little bit differently about what I just said. But those types of games, I'm not putting the same amount of time and effort that I am into agility. So it's possible for me to do so that I can still maintain a good quality of life for her physically and mentally. But then if I have longer breaks, and this comes sometimes when I'm taking a deliberate break from agility for rest and recovery, and it might be compounded by a life event that is keeping me from returning a little bit sooner. But either way, for whatever reason, a long break is 5 to 8 weeks or more. And how I structure that is a little bit different because now we have a longer period of time where agility might be absent and I need to be more aware of how I ramp back up. I don't want to go from a house pet couch potato straight back into agility. So I want to be really aware of how I ramp back up when I'm taking longer breaks. So the first week or two is being just a dog. We do bare minimum and only what's necessary to maintain behavioral health. So it's usually an increased amount of time in nature because I'm trying to focus more on decompression and resting and recovery and less on, making their brains work really hard or their bodies work really hard. And then the bulk of the break, that for 1 to 4 weeks, is probably focused on conditioning. So throughout that kind of month in the break, I might start with a small amount of conditioning, ease the behaviors that make their body feel good. Not anything too taxing, certainly not new conditioning skills that might be more difficult for them, but we're easing back up into our more like 3 to 4 workouts a week. Now and towards the end of it, we might be looking again at leveling up our conditioning plan, just ramping back up more into normal schedule and capacity. Then a week or two is we're going to ramp back up to training as well. And because we've had a significant break from agility, this likely includes obedience training for my dogs before agility training, just to kind of start taxing their brain and their body in a way that does increase their arousal, does test their skills, but doesn't put pressure on my precious agility skills. Again, I don't compete in obedience, but if I did, I might feel differently about what I just said. I train as if I do compete, and I never compete, so that I have a subset of skills that are not so near and dear to me, but that I can use in situations just like this. So then I have a week or two of ramping back up. I'm starting with probably lower jumps, easy skills, just little reminders, putting reinforcement back into the bank, making sure that we both feel good about things, that we have a high level of confidence. And then usually I can go right back to where I left off from here. If I use my time wisely to ramp back up, we all feel good and confident and nothing was lost. And we're not jumping back in frustrated or overwhelmed physically or mentally. So hopefully that helps you look at your calendar and your life and develop a better and more sustainable way of planning your training and how to build sustainable training plans even when you're not able to train as much as you'd like. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I really appreciate some feedback. You can leave me a review, engage on social media, or share this with a friend. I hope you'll be back to listen to my next episode. In the meantime, you can find all of my offers on my website, fxagility.com. Happy training.